We're getting close to summer here, which means more camping, and I love camping. And I finally broke down and bought something that is going to be a game changer for when I'm car camping, or it's just gonna fail miserably and piss me off. Stick around, we'll see how things go. Chris here with Barnyard Outdoors. You guessed it, I bought myself a new cooler. Not really a cooler, it's actually a portable refrigerator. And we'll take a look at it here. This is actually the Bodega K25, all right? And what makes this different is it actually has a compressor in here, which is awesome. This is gonna be a game changer for me, especially when I'm out on multi-day events. Now, in the past I've used this. This is my Yeti Roadie, and this is the Roadie 24. So it's 24 quarts, and this thing does great. I can get easily 3 days when I load it up with ice, keep everything nice and cool. The problem with the cooler is that although it's 24 quarts, by the time I put 10 pounds of ice in this thing, I maybe have 4 or 5 quarts of storage. Actually, most of the time, I have to fit all of my food that needs refrigeration in this little insert thing, and the rest is all ice. So don't get me wrong, I love this thing. It's just turning out to not be the most efficient way to do multi-day camping events where I want to take a lot of food, a lot of fresh food that requires refrigeration or needs to, stay safe so I don't get sick. So I'm gonna keep using this. I love this thing. This has been a great cooler, but I just don't get the capacity I need, and I don't want to buy a bigger one. These things aren't cheap. I mean, I got a deal on this, and I don't know if you looked at the prices now. It's ridiculous to buy this Roadie 24. I wouldn't pay what they're asking for right now. It's a great cooler, but I still wouldn't pay that. And that doesn't include this. This is like another 25, 30 bucks. Jeez, Yeti. So, what I decided to do is go with a fridge. All right. What this allows me to do is maximize the amount of space when I'm carrying items that need to stay refrigerated, because no ice. I don't need to take any ice at all with me. Why would you not want to do that? This is a 25 quart unit, and it's nice here. I'm going to go ahead and power it on. I've already had this pre-chilled, and I put in some cold things in here just to kind of show what it looks like. And then I'm going to be doing some tests with my RockPals 300 battery pack. That's gonna be the one I'm gonna try to run this on when I'm out at Indian Cave this fall for 5 days. And if it works, it's gonna be awesome. So stick around, we will see that coming up here. But let's take a look at this right now. Like I said, this is the K25. If it looks familiar to you, it looks very similar to the Alpicool. And I'm pretty sure that Alpicool makes these, and a bunch of companies rebrand them. So it's a great little cooler. It's got a little latch on the lid, which I think is nice, and a chain. Plus, it's got a little light. I mean, you got to have that. And like I said, I've got this running, so I got a bunch of things in there. Some Gatorade and some beer, and plenty of room in this thing. This is going to be perfect. Take a look at some measurements. The cooler itself is about 23 inches wide. It's let's see, with the lid closed, about 13.5 tall, and the depth is about 13, which average cooler size, right? For this size, it will fit in the back of my car, no issues whatsoever. So let's take a look inside and look at the measurements. So the actual space you have is, I'd say, about 10.5 inches deep, because there's a little lip around that, and 13.5 inches in this direction, and then about 10 inches from front to back. There's also another smaller compartment, which is right here, and this one is not actually refrigerated. It does get cooler because there's a little air gap here between the main body of the refrigerator and this small compartment. In here, I just have some of these little small sodas, and from what I've heard, People are doing things like dairy products, right? You put some cheese in there, things like that, that isn't super sensitive to not being super cold. It's a nice little storage space. It's nice to have another place to put things, but this is the main compartment, and you can see I also in here have a little temperature sensor because I'm doing some testing. Also has a nice display on it. The display tells you the temperature, tells you the voltage coming in. It also has a little battery icon. Right now I have this in eco mode and in low because I'm going to be putting this on a battery pack. You can adjust these settings so it runs on high, which just means the compressor works a little bit more, cools things down quicker. On low mode, it actually adjusts the cutoff of the voltage. So I believe low is 9.7 volts. And then it also has a Bluetooth icon there, which is awesome because it has a app that allows you to control the temperature and kind of check the status of the fridge. And by the way, I mentioned Alpicool, it's the same app. So all these companies are using some of the same technology. It also has a USB port here in case you want to plug in your phone. It's always kind of convenient. So I know one of the questions that a lot of people have when we're talking about these little fridges, especially these affordable ones, is who makes the compressor? I don't know. I can dig around online, see what I can find out. If I find anything out, I'll put it somewhere on the screen or in the description below. This is not a Dometic. This is not a super high-end one. This actually was less than what the Yetis cost right now, the Yeti Rode. So I feel like I got a pretty good deal on these. These prices fluctuate a lot. My elbow keeps hitting the buttons and it's making noise every once in a while, which brings up a nice feature they have, which is a lock. And if I push the lock button, hold it down, it then locks out the control. So it'll beep, but I won't let me do anything. So that's another great feature of this. So why would you want something like this? This is going to be my primary place to keep refrigerated food items when I'm camping. Now they do make some bigger units that have dual zones, so you can have a freezer on one side and a refrigerator on the other. Honestly, I didn't see a need to spend the extra money to get something like that. Usually when I'm taking my regular cooler out, if I have something like a steak that I know I'm eating on day 3, I'll just put it in the cooler frozen, right? That actually works pretty well. It will be thawed out within a few days and I can cook it easily. Something like this, I don't have to worry about that, right? I can just keep it nice and cold for the entire duration of the trip, assuming I have power to power this. And that's kind of the big test that needs to happen, is I need to plug this in to my RockPals 300. It is an unregulated 12 volt port on that. But I've done some initial tests with this because I couldn't wait with another battery pack I had. And I was actually pretty impressed with it so far. The testing that I've done just inside the house, there's so many factors that can change the way this works and the battery life you're gonna get. But my initial test for this, I got about 14 hours at a 200 watt unregulated 12 volt battery pack. And I was really impressed with that. That was keeping the temperature. The compressor was running about 5 to 6 minutes, and then there was about 10 or 11 minutes where it wouldn't run, and then it would kick back on. The draw on it was usually around 40 to 50 watts. This thing is actually, they rate it for 60, and I think it actually bounces around a little bit depending on what settings you have with it, between eco mode and regular mode. But so far I'm pretty impressed with this. The big test is going to be putting it on that RockPals. And my plan is when we go to Indian Cave, because we're usually there for 5 days, is I'll have the RockPals there powering everything I have, including this refrigerator. And then every day I'll put the solar panels out. So I'm really betting that I'm going to have sun every day there. But I'm pretty sure with the 300 is I can get this thing to run over a day without sun, maybe a day and a half. And if I can do that, then I feel pretty confident that this is going to work out to be a perfect solution. If not, and I don't have enough power or enough sun, then we're just gonna have a big feast and eat everything that's in the fridge before it goes bad. You know, it's just like at home when the power's out. You can barely hear this thing. This is what makes it great. It is so quiet. I'll try to get some sound for you here. Now that's pretty quiet. Actually, in some of the testing I've already done with this, The thing that makes this noisy is when the fan kicks on my portable power station from RockPals. That thing is louder than the compressor in this. So I'm very impressed with that. Very quiet, which is good because you don't need this thing kicking on in the middle of the night and waking you up. Nobody likes that. As I mentioned, I do have a little thermometer in there that is part of this setup. All right, this is an Accurite system. And I'm just gonna take this and I'm going to put it kind of down in between the cans there, so it's you know, near the bottom, and we'll keep an eye on that. That sensor is actually an outdoor sensor, so on here it says that that's the outdoor temp. I'm going to go ahead and get the fridge set up, and as I mentioned, there's an app for that, which is just awesome. And the main reason I like that there's an app is that this thing will live in the back of my car when I'm traveling places, and it'll be plugged in, and I want to be able to check the status of it. So I just opened the Smart Car Fridge app. Great name. And it shows me all the information about this fridge. It's actually kind of a universal app, so it does show a second zone there. It doesn't work on this model. If you get a bigger model with the 2 zones, it will work. I'm going to set this temperature to, so I'll set it to 32. And right now I have it in eco mode and I have it in low mode. And actually the low mode, I think I said it was 9.7. It's actually 9 volts. So what'll happen here is when the battery voltage drops to 9 volts, the fridge will automatically shut off, and that's to save your battery. And you can actually set it to medium, which is 11.5, or high, which is 12 volts. So it'll cut off at those higher voltages. And then I have it in eco mode. Now, eco mode, there's not a lot out there, but from what I understand, it's a little more conservative on how the compressor runs. So I don't know, we'll see. I've seen some tests out there where I really haven't seen much of a difference between eco and non-eco. So I just got to figure this out on my own. I mean, it's all experimenting, right? This is all the fun stuff. So I'm going to set the thermometer right here, and then I'm going to go grab my RockPals 300, get that set up and plug it in, because it does come with a 12 volt plug, which is nice because it's long. I mean, it's like really, really long, which is what you want, right? You want to keep this in a shady area. You know, maybe the battery pack needs to be a little further away, or if in your car you're running it and your plug's far away. Let me get the RockPals and let's get it hooked up. All right, so this is fully charged. And we'll see it come up here 100%. I'm gonna go ahead and use the 12 volt plug. Let me unplug the refrigerator. I had to unplug the fridge from wall power. And plug it back into here. Now, the reason I had it on wall power is I already had some stuff in there. I wanted stuff to stay cold. And anytime you're doing something like this, you want to pre-chill it. Whether you're using a Yeti or something else, you got a pre-chilled cooler. Makes a huge difference when it comes to power consumption. This thing, when that compressor kicks on, it uses a lot more power, right? If there's already cold stuff in there, there's already a mass at a certain temperature, it means the compressor is going to come on last. Your battery's going to last longer. Everything's just going to be a little more efficient. All right, so we've got it all hooked up. We're ready to go. It is 10:40 a.m. And what I'll probably do is I do work for a living. I work from home, thank goodness. So I got to get back to my desk and do some work. But I'll come out here every hour, 2 hours, take some pictures of the time and what the temperature is set at, just so we can see how this is doing and how this progresses. And I'm really hoping this thing is still running, tomorrow night, right? 10:40 now. 24 hours, 10:40 tomorrow. So if I can get a day and a half or even close to 2 days, I'll be a very, very happy man. When it comes to actually using this at Indian Cave during the day when there's sun, I'll have the solar panels hooked up. Solar, I have two 60-watt solar panels. So this can pull in about 70 watts from that solar with good sun. So I'll be able to plug it into the solar panels and charge and run the fridge at the same time. It does allow pass-through charging off the DC port here. Hopefully the solar panel input will be enough to not only offset the power consumed by the refrigerator when the compressor's on, but also top off the battery pack. So that's something that we're just going to have to see once I start getting out camping with this thing. That's going to be the true test. I will make sure that I show that in one of my upcoming videos. So remember to subscribe so you can see that. Who doesn't want to see a test in the real world? It's one of the things that you don't see a lot of these reviewers do. They sit there and they try something out and say, hey, check out this product, and then you never see it again. This is something I'll be dragging out with me a lot, even on road trips, right? If we're driving 5 or 6 hours somewhere, I'd rather have this in the back of the car with some water in it and then worry about filling up ice and buying ice. I'm tired of buying ice. I mean, geez, gas is expensive. Bottled water is ridiculous. Now I got to buy frozen water, and that's not even like reverse osmosis water. That's just like regular tap ice. I don't think they do anything special to that. So I don't want to carry that around. I don't want to waste some money on it anymore. This is my solution. Crossing my fingers. Let the test begin. This thing is still maintained temperature. The first time the compressor kicks on, I will start the video again so we can look at the display here, see what the draw is. The compressor's kicked on. The refrigerator says that it's 36 degrees. If we look inside here, this temperature sensor says 38. Oh, now it says 37. So there's a little difference. The sensor on this, I believe, is up near the top. What I found when I put the temperature sensor way down at the bottom, it really maintains the temperature well. It's just like any other cooler, right? I mean, you're gonna put the coldest stuff on the bottom, right? Cold air sinks. So it's running now. The RockPals is running. I'm surprised the fan isn't kicked on this, but you'll notice the output is 43 watts. Now this thing is rated at 60 watts. But it's not a continuous 60 watt draw, right? It is just chugging along at 43. So we've got this going. It started maybe about a minute ago. We'll see how long it goes, but my initial estimates when doing some other tests with a smaller battery pack were that is gonna run the compressor for about 5 minutes. Fridge is already down to 34 there. This one's a little slow updating. It's, it's not like real time temperature or anything. But this should run for a couple more minutes, and the compressor will kick off, and it'll sit there, and it'll just, chill. All right, stop the presses. So I wasn't liking what I was seeing on my initial test of this, so I'm going to start a new one. I've got this topped off to 100. One of the things I was seeing is that I had the temperature set down to 32. The internal temperature was reading about 27. I don't want to freeze stuff, so I just want to use this as close to as I would use it out camping. So the first thing I want to do is find my app here, and I continue to run the cooler off of the AC power just to make sure it was keeping things the same. I've set the temperature here to 35 degrees, all right? I figured that's gonna be my refrigerator temperature. And then in the app here, I'm gonna go ahead and select Eco mode, and I'm going to set the low voltage shutoff to low, which is 9 volts. And we'll get this hooked up to the RockPals 300. This is gonna be an interesting test. I don't know how it's gonna behave, if it's gonna give me the results I want when, since I'm using a non-regulated 12 volt plug. But I have an idea. If that doesn't work, I've been watching some YouTube videos because that's what I do. And there's some other options I think that would be an interesting test. So let me power this off. Unplug the AC. I'm going to plug in the 12 volts just to prove that there's no funny business here. I've disconnected the AC, and let's go over to the RockPals and make sure it's turned on. All right, you can see that the RockPals is turned on. Our internal Temperature is 34 right now. It's 75 in my kitchen or my dining room. And let's go ahead and power this on, the DC, and plug this in. So now I'm powered off the RockPals. Currently there's no output because I pre-chilled this. That's the secret. You got to pre-chill these things, right? So it's already, well, actually it's not even turned on. See, this is the kind of stuff that just happens. I'm gonna go ahead and turn it on. Comes up, it's right now 33 degrees is what it senses. 12.3 volts, eco, low mode for the battery shut off. And let's see where it goes, right? Compressor is not on yet. And you can see that because we're doing 0 watts right here. High hopes for this. I think. I don't know. This is how we learn, right? Just trial and error. Sometimes you just gotta see what you can do and see if it's gonna work. And if it doesn't work, hey, Amazon, 30-day return policy on this thing. Pretty cool. As I'm restarting this, I'll go ahead and set my stopwatch here. And it's 1:13 right now. This is a fun camera angle, isn't it? Okay, it's been 18 and a half minutes since I plugged this thing in. The compressor still has not kicked on. The temperature inside the cooler is staying steady at 34. The display on the actual refrigerator shows 37 right now. This is the advantage of pre-chilling your drinks that you're putting in there and pre-cooling the refrigerator. This is why the compressor hasn't kicked on yet. It already had that cooler temperature. It doesn't need to do the work, and that's gonna save me battery life because I took the extra time to do the pre-chilling of my drinks and pre-chilling the cooler. Okay, 20 minutes into this test, the compressor just kicked on, and you can see that here with the wattage on the output from the RockPals. Now, one thing you'll notice here is this thermostat, the outdoor one, which the sensor is inside, is still at 34 degrees. The temperature of the items in there, or where it's placed, which is about midway down, that temperature has remained stable. The temperature display on the fridge itself says that it's 39 and it just dropped to 38. So you can see that there's a pretty big swing there. It's going to take it back down to 35, at least 35 where this sensor is. But the food and everything inside should remain a pretty stable temperature. So, like I said, we're 21 minutes into this. We're going to let the compressor run, and let's see how long I can get this thing to last on that unregulated 12 volt output on the RockPals 300. All right, we are 1 hour and 2 minutes into this test, and it's only down 3% an hour. Let's see if that holds here over the next couple hours. All right, we're 2 hours into this test here. Yeah, look right there. Hopefully you can see that. Two hours and 5 minutes, and I think we're at 93%, which is pretty good. That's this angle is horrible. Sorry, guys. So I think that's pretty good. 2 hours, 7% usage. Maybe check it out here in a couple more hours. See if that's a pretty constant drain. Maybe be able to do some math, and we'll see how long this lasts. All right, 3 hours, 17 minutes in. Check it out, still doing good. And you know what? My day's over. So I'm gonna reach in here and grab myself something to drink. At 4 hours and 2 minutes, the refrigerator temperature shows 36. the little thermometer inside. Look at that. It still shows 34. And the RockPals, it's at 84%. So that's not bad so far for 4 hours. Let's just continue through the test and see how it works. So far I'm impressed with this, and I think it's going to work. But all right, wow, that lighting is horrible. But as you can see, the sun is beating down onto the cooler now, which is actually good for testing. It shows the indoor temperature at 82, which is 82 because the sun is on the sensor there. I don't know if you can tell here, we're at 76%. We're still at 34 degrees inside the cooler, and we're getting close to 6 hours. We're at 5 hours and 40 minutes. So we're looking at maybe 6 hours for 25%. That I'm still not sure that we're going to hit the 1 day mark, but we'll see. We'll see how this goes overnight. Just rolled over 9 hours, and we're at 58% left on the RockPals. The compressor's on right now. It's drawing about 36, 37 watts. Fridge temperature still sitting at 33. So so far so good. I'll stay up for a few more hours and see if we can at least get it to 12, and then I'm gonna let it run all night. So hopefully in the morning it will still be running. All right, I'm calling it a night. It's been 10 hours, about 10 hours and 10 minutes. I'm still at 53%. The compressor just kicked on again. We're at 36 watts. Internal fridge temp is 33, and hopefully in the morning I will still have this thing running and have some percentages left. We'll just have to wait and see. See everybody in the morning. All right, let's check the cooler this morning. It's sorry about the hair. It's what it's like here in the morning. All right, it's 7 a.m. and I got 20% battery left, and this thing is still going strong. The cooler is still at 33 degrees. So I am pretty impressed so far. I mean, that's I figure I can get it down to about 10% before it will automatically shut off. So maybe a couple more hours, maybe 3, maybe 4, maybe 8. I don't know. We're just going to wait and see. I think I'm going to be short of the day and a half I'd like to get out of this. So a bigger battery pack might be in my future. I'm not 100% sure yet. All right, getting down to the wire here. We're at 19 hours and 12 minutes. We're down to 14%. We're still at 33 degrees inside the cooler. Now, you know, I set this cooler to low mode, which means that it is going to run until the voltage gets to 9 volts. And luckily, the fridge shows us here. So if we look at this, you can see that right now it's reading the voltage at 10.3, 10.2. It's kind of fluctuating back and forth, and it's got a little battery gauge there. So we still have about 1.3 volts before this thing will shut off. I am thinking that we're going to get to the 10% mark, which is the cutoff on the RockPals. But still, it's doing pretty good. Not as good as I hoped, but it's still doing pretty good. I'm still very impressed with this. We're going to let this thing run down, and then I'll give you my final results and tell you what I think, and tell you if I think this is going to work for me or not, or if I'm going to have to change the setup a bit. The compressor just kicked on. All right, 19 hours, 20 minutes. Down to 13%. Remember how I was talking about the voltage and this being set to level 1? So while it's got a draw on it right now, it is at 9.6 and 9.5 volts. It's kind of oscillating between the two. It'll shut off when it gets to 9, and the compressor just shut off. This is perfect timing for this. And if we go back over here and now look at the voltage readout on the fridge, it's showing 10.2, and the little battery icon is showing empty. It's down near the final moments here. I think I maybe get 2 or 3 more turn-ons of the compressor, which would put us at maybe close to 20 hours of runtime. I don't know. We're just going to wait and see. All right. As expected, we got down to 10%, and it has shut off. We're at, oh boy, 19 hours and 57 minutes So that's it's pretty close to 20 hours. And you see we're still sitting at 33 inside. That's a little disappointing. A little disappointing to me because I wanted to get over 24 hours. But it looks like if I'm going to continue to use the RockPals 300 for this, I'm going to have to make sure I'm solar charging this pretty much every day, or charging it somehow every day. Not really a big problem as long as there's sun. And I'm only going to be using this in the summer. I'm only going to be using this when I'm car camping. So if I have to, I can plug it into the car and charge the battery pack for that, or even run the fridge off the car if I want to for a while I'm charging up the RockPals. So I have two 60-watt solar panels that I use with my RockPals. I can hook those together so I get 120 watts in. The RockPals 300 actually has a limit, and it's around like 70 watts in, maybe 75. I don't know. So I should be able to charge this thing up. I believe it's about 5 hours of sun, 5 to 6 hours of full sun with the solar panels and the maximum charge input to get the thing recharged, to get that RockPals 300 recharged. And Nebraska in the summer, it's usually sunny unless we get some stormy days. So I think I'm going to be running pretty lean on this. I should be able to keep it charged up. If I can keep this RockPals at around 60 to maybe 80% with solar and running the fridge all the time, I think I'm going to be fine. I think the other solution would be to buy a bigger battery pack. If I were out shopping right now for some kind of solar charging station, right, I would probably go with something bigger than what I have. When I originally started, the first one I had was like 120 watts. And a little Jackery unit. The thing is great. I still have it. I'll use it for backup power for my network equipment if we have a power outage. Then I went to a 240. The 240 was good, but a little bit small. So I went to the 300 because I got a really good deal on it. 300 has worked perfectly for me. But as I start expanding the equipment that I'm using, I need something a little bit larger. So if I were to buy one today, I would probably start looking at the 500 range. And I've noticed that some of the new ones now are pushing 700 to 800 watts. And that's probably what I would go with. That way I wouldn't have to be too concerned about how much power is in my battery pack. It would definitely be able to handle this fridge for over 24 hours, probably close to 2 days if I got something around the 800 range. Overall, I think this is going to work really good. The benefit of this is that I'm not buying ice to put in my cooler and pre-chill it before I go camping. I'm not buying ice the day I go camping to make sure the cooler's topped off. And then I'm definitely not having to buy more ice when I'm on day 3 or 4 of my camp out. If I can keep this thing running and not have to worry about buying all that ice. So stick around, make sure you subscribe to my channel because I will be taking this unit out camping with me. I've got a car camp out next month, so I'm gonna put this through the paces out in the real world. The test I did here was very controlled. All right, the temperature in the house was between 72 and 80 degrees where I've got this sitting in the kitchen. When I get this out in the summer heat of Nebraska, it could be 90 degrees in the shade, and that is definitely going to impact the performance of this unit. I'm going to use a lot more power. So you really need to stick around and see those things. The real world tests are really where it's at. Testing something in the house, although it's good for me to get used to how everything operates, it's not the real test. The real test is day 3 to see if I have some seafood in here that's not all slimy and gross and has to be thrown out. So looking forward to this. Stick around, subscribe to the channel, like this video if you like this type of thing, and remember to leave a comment below if you have any questions about either the RockPals or the cooler or anything, or the artwork in the kitchen or my hat or the way my hair looks in the morning, anything. I really just like to talk, so feel free to reach out and say hi. All right, thanks everybody for watching.